We are back live on Twitch.
Ciao.
Raduno. We are getting closer to the second worst Raduno, 16, 17, and 18 of July. And we have from Hawaii, no, actually from Cinque Terre in Liguria, Italy, the beautiful, fantastic Andrea from the Mengis. From the beach, because it's like we cannot see that now, but you are actually from the beach, right?
Yeah, I'm in Cinque Terre, which is a very beautiful location in the La Spezia area, which is pretty famous now for the Pixar movie Luca. So yeah, I'm kind of lucky because this is just right close to the place I live. So
perfect. Is the quiet before the storm, because you're getting some sun and some relax before second worst Raduno. And then special guest for tonight we have Mr. Martino Pasina from Ramones World. Everyone knows him because he's actually the hand of Pancok Raduno, the guy that makes everything happen. And without him, there would be basically no stage, nothing. So it's perfect. And he's going to help us introduce the guest of tonight and ask him some questions. And also today we have a really special announcement. And it's nothing like you can ever imagine. It's not a band, it's not an artist, it's not something that we ever done before at Raduno. So be on the lookout. But before everything, I just wanted to say, before I forgot, just 1 hour ago, our friends D-Cracks that are going to play second worst Raduno, on the Saturday evening, just put out online a new live session video, and they sent us a trailer, so you can go on YouTube now on the YouTube channel of D-Cracks and find this new live session from their latest album released on CD by Stripe Music and Stripe Records. Sorry, not Stripe Music. And we're going to watch it a little bit, so we're going to fix a few issues with the sound right now. Serious Issues from D-Cracks live now on YouTube. Go to watch them, and you're gonna find it on YouTube right now. And here we are, second worst Raduno. Andrea, you just want to tell us what we announced this week, the latest week?
It's not easy to recap all the stuff that we announced, because basically we are mostly done. We almost done with the band's announcements, and I'm pretty sure we announced that we're gonna have more shows on the Ink Lab, and more shows at Bike Fellas, and some shows at the Bombonera Social Pub. So Edone is not gonna be the only venue for this year of Raduno, but also we're gonna have a few shows around town as we used to do.
Yep, correct, because it's gonna be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it's gonna be Friday at Edone on the evening, and we're gonna have 4 bands. Then we're gonna have Saturday. We are gonna go back into the streets of Bergamo, and we are gonna have the usual lunch at Bike Fellas, which is a new. It's a new old venue. We did the Larry Livermore presentation of the book, but now there are some new owners. The place is even better than before, and we are gonna have like the Gamitz live session. Then we are gonna move to Ink Club for 2 electric sessions, and then Edone from the afternoon till the late night. And also special event, we are gonna have a punk rock school for kids. So if you have kids and if you just want to have them involved in something creative and cool and fun, we are going to have a Massimo and Sassi from the Lichis doing a punk rock school, and it's going to be pretty cool. And then, everything you can expect from a small version of Raduno during the pandemic. And then on Sunday, we are going to have like the lunch session where, for the first time ever, my friend Andrea from the Menges is going to play
That's
acoustic
me.
with Stefanino. Yeah, even if he doesn't want people to say that. And then we are going to have Kurt Baker and Senza Benza play acoustic. And then we are going to have, we still have to announce something special in the afternoon in another venue. And the Rico Bellis acoustic session at Bombonera, which is a new venue that is connected to Edone. And we are going to talk soon about everything new this week. And yeah, a lot of announcements. Be on the lookout. Just check the punkrockraduno.com. Just check our pages. We are pretty busy, and we actually have still a lot of things to do for the festival. We are trying to bring you the best festival we can, considering the conditions right now, because things are, losing it up a little bit in Italy. Contagions are really, really low, as they never been, since 1 year and a half. But still, we want everyone to feel safe, secure. There's going to be, limited capacities venues, so you have to reserve. Please reserve. Don't come from, the other side of the world to stay
Yeah.
out, because it's we are very close to be sold out. So please, please, please.
Yeah, I believe
And
we're gonna be. I believe we're gonna be sold out for the whole 3 days. So it's better. It's better to book your reservation now if you want to be there. And also, Franz, I saw a video of you in Edone showing out that in front of the stage now we have also seats and not only
yes,
tables, right?
that's perfectly correct, because in Italy now, to watch shows you have to be seated, distanced and seated. So in Edone, just like last year during the worst Raduno ever, so the first event of the pandemic Radunos, we had, seated people or distanced people. And right now, in front of the stage, the main stage of Edone, you're going to have like seats. So it's going to be even better and closer to the stage. So it's, we're going to show you when you come inside the event, and it's going to be good. And also, we didn't say, there's going to be a live stream too. You can follow the whole Raduno here on Twitch, and we're going to have Kurt Baker as a host. So, not as trying to speak English, just like we're doing right now, but a
But just like
real,
a proper American host.
yes, a proper
Kurt
American
Baker,
host.
yeah.
Yes. So, two things. Andrea, turn down your volume. And we are going to bring back Martino here. Hello, Martino. We are back.
Hello, guys.
We had a couple issues. And I think we should announce our guest for tonight, which is also the reason why we do this. Probably one of the reasons why we do this. A good
Yeah.
old friend of Raduno, a big supporter of Raduno. And, he doesn't stop supporting us because he's here with us chatting about crazy things, and let me see him right now. Everyone is welcome. Say welcome. Andrea, are you ready? No, he's not
No,
ready.
No,
not ready. Not
So,
ready.
so I cut you for a little, Andrea.
I think yeah. Here I am. Here I am.
Okay, perfect.
I'm using earphones now. I'm in the only Airbnb in Cinque Terre with no Wi-Fi, so it kind of
Perfect.
sucks. There you go.
Perfect. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, we are
Are
ready.
you trying to show him the sea? Perfect. Here he is.
Oh,
Uncle CJ.
Yeah.
The man. Hey, CJ.
How's it going, fellas?
Good.
Good. Thank you.
Well, considering the situation, we are still pretty shitty. We were still, trying to manage our lives and trying to manage, to do a punk rock festival in this condition. But let's say we don't give up. That's the good part of it.
Yeah.
So
That's
how
the
are
only
you?
way to get it done. Good. I'm doing
Yes.
good. Doing good. Enjoying the nice California weather. Having a nice little sip of wine. No complaints.
That's beautiful. It's so nice to see
Awesome.
you. It just makes me happy to see you and to see you happy. So
Yeah.
what are you doing right now? I mean, beside now, like you moved to California, right? A few years ago.
Yeah, I've been in California. This July will be 3 years, and
Yep.
since I moved out here, I announced that I retired from touring in
Yep.
2019. Right, I did my final
Yep.
tour, but I got asked to play bass for Me First and the Gimme Gimmes.
Yes.
So I worked with them a little bit before the lockdown, and now we just announced our first tour September 3rd through September 8th through October 23rd in the U.S.
Cool. How is
Yeah.
playing with them? Do you like playing with them?
I love it. The beautiful thing about being in the Ramones was all I had to do is show up, play bass, sing a couple things, put my bass down, walk off stage, and do whatever I wanted to do. But post Ramones, when I started going out on the road by myself, I had to be involved in every little decision and everything that had to get done. I had to be part of, and I didn't enjoy that part of it. So now with the Gimmes, it's almost like being the Ramones. I have to put on the uniform, I have to put, and go up on stage and play the bass lines, and so I've gone full circle at this point.
That's beautiful. So you are taking the part. Well, you are replacing Fat Mike, I guess, your label boss, because
I mean, realistically, Fat Mike hasn't played in the band full time in a long time. Jay Bentley I took over. Yeah, I took over from Jay Bentley.
Jay Bentley from Bad Religion. Yeah,
right. Jay had been playing with them for quite a while, and there has been the Gimmes constantly have gone through lineup changes. I think at this point it's just Joey Cape and Spike who are the last pretty much full-time originals, but even Joey once in a while doesn't come out on tour, and then there's all different people, all different bands that come out and play. So I've already played with a couple different guitar players in the band, and I've only really I've done maybe two tours and some random shows.
Yeah. Is it a little bit a sort of going back at your beginnings? Because I remember reading about your first experience in bands was playing like covers in like places like I don't know if New Jersey or New York or in the area. So you were playing like the top 50 hits or something like that in a blues band.
I did play with a blues player for a long time, a guy named Guitar Pete. But that was really just part of being in his metal band. So, I mean, I literally always played heavy metal, always, from when I first, started playing out. But I really do enjoy this. It's nothing but fun. Literally, it's nothing but fun. There's not a whole lot of things that I have to worry about. And like I said, I get up on stage, I wear the crazy outfits, I put on my sunglasses, I just enjoy myself, And these bass lines are a little bit more involved than the stuff I've done before. So I've even got to go back to being a little bit more of a bass player rather than just hammering out them root notes, But just like getting into the Ramones, in this band, I have to alternate pick. Right. Yeah. I can't do all downstrumming in this band. So again, I was in the position of learning another new style of bass playing. So it's fun. Like I said, I kind of have gone full circle at this point.
That's
perfect.
So do you see yourself doing another solo album? Because like one thing me and Andrea were discussing before, and then I leave the question to Andrea, is like, many interviews ask you about, of course, your period with the Ramones before and after, but we are huge fans of your solo albums. All your stuff that you did in the last years, they are fantastic. They are like some of the best punk rock records, and I cannot stop playing that.
Thank you.
They always make me so. Is there a chance for new material in the future, you think, even if you stop touring?
Yeah, I'll probably still put out records. I have, especially now with the lockdown that just happened, I have so many songs written. And I don't even know why I was writing songs. It wasn't like I was intending to do anything. But at this point, I realized, like, man, I still have music in me. I should, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and start recording some of the stuff that I've been doing. But I have like all different stuff that I've written, like acoustic stuff and stuff that's a little more technical than some of my older stuff. So I'll probably piece together a couple of records here and there, and put them down and put them out.
You think you're going, but you're sure you're not going back to touring?
Yeah. I'll tour with the Gimmies. You know what I mean? I just got to the point where I was at the 30-year mark, right? 2019 was 30 years from when I got into the Ramones.
Yeah.
And I just got to that point where I was like, I think I've really done this. I've done it for 30 years, touring out of a van, and just wasn't 30 years running the business, but for the last at least 10 or 12 doing it with my own guys. And I just felt like, I'm done. I just got to that point where I was like, I'm done, because when you run the band, when you write the songs, your name is on it. You got to make all the decisions. I had to find people to play in the band each tour because this, everybody was already in other bands, and
sure.
And I felt like,
I guess,
yeah, it just becomes like work. You know what I mean? It really became like work. There was a lot of time that went into making each tour happening. And I think, if I was in a position where I was able to like pay somebody else to deal with all of that and not have to worry about anything, and I could just get back to being a musician, it would have been easier to stay with it. But that's what was so attractive about the Gimmies. Like I said, it's literally, I don't have to worry about anything. I just show up and play bass, and it just feels good to be back to being a musician instead of being a business owner, which is really what it became,
I understand. Yeah, in the DIY, you end up doing yourself the business side of the music business.
DIY is a different thing when you have a steady band who everybody is in the same band and everyone's working towards the same thing. But when you have guys from different bands and when they're not playing with me, they're out playing with their own band. So it ain't like they can chip in and say, hey, I'll take care of booking hotels, or I'll take care of, getting a van or something, literally when getting a van and renting equipment and all of that, it was all on me. So like I said, I just got to the point where it really was like a job. And and the Gimmies, the Bad Religion started getting busy again, and Jay was like, I'm gonna be tied up, and the spot opened up, and it just kind of dovetailed perfectly. I announced my retirement. The Gimmies needed a bass player. Boom. And I'm a big believer in like life puts stuff in front of you for a reason, right? When something comes up, it comes up for a reason, and it. Like the Gimmies thing and me being like, I didn't feel like working that whole part of the industry anymore. It both happened at the same time. And I realized like, yeah, this is my payback for all the time I put in with everything else. So it's nice. Right. It was good timing.
To me, the good news to me is that you're still writing music. And the fact that you're thinking about releasing it. Because I felt, I think that your solo records since Reconquista has been very, very inspired and really amazing. Many fans think that. So actually, I'm happy that you had this. I don't know. It was about 10 years, I can say.
Yeah.
Of your solo career that went really well, and I really wish you would keep going. Then touring touring at any level, it could be something that you can go back to when you have the chance, or maybe never. But we'll see. Who knows? I mean, we are old farts, but still kind of young, and it's too early to say. It's too early to say if something is really over or it isn't.
And I would like to I would like to work with other bands. Like I would love to do, songs with other bands, or just like do entire albums, like come up with a concept and do an album together. And you know what I mean? Like I would love to, I want to stay creative. I want to stay in punk rock. I want to keep doing stuff. It's just, I don't want to carry the football anymore. I'm like, I'd love to contribute to a band. That's the thing. That's the great thing about being in a band, right? As opposed to having your own band. When you're working together with three guys, four guys, and you have your group of friends, your artists who do your artwork, and your friend who does all of your social media, and you're on a team and everyone's working together, and like everyone's pushing the rock up the hill, right? We're all pushing the rock up the hill, right? That to me is one of my favorite parts of being in a band. I love that. You know what I mean? I love to step onto stage with guys who I don't have to worry about if they're going to remember their parts. You know what I mean? I don't have to worry about, did we rehearse enough for the tour? We are a unit. We step up on stage. Everybody does their job. Bang, bang, bang. Everyone in front of us having a good time. I really enjoy that part of being in a band. I really, really do. But like I said, having my own band, and while all my guys put 100% in and we rehearse the heck out of everything, it's still a different situation with them playing in my band rather than us being in a band together.
Sure. Understood. Well, talking about the quality of your solo albums, we reached a point, I remember, and me and Andrea, we were about, for many people, like when you came on tour, of course you had to play, the Ramones songs, but we were thinking like, oh, I wish he could play his own songs more. I wish the set was only CJ RAMONE, because they were so good, that I actually wanted you to play more and more and more of your own songs.
I appreciate that. I got that. I got that comment from a lot over the years on the road. But there was always a part of me that just wanted to go out and just play my own stuff and not do any Ramon songs. But to me, if I wasn't using CJ Ramone as a name, if I was going out as Chris Ward, I would feel way more comfortable doing that. But when people hear CJ Ramone, they want to hear Ramone songs, And there was a time period where the set was probably 75% my stuff and 25% Ramone stuff. But the more time went on, the more I realized there were more people showing up to hear Ramone songs than there were people showing up to hear CJ Ramone songs. And that's not to say that those people didn't enjoy my stuff or they didn't own anything that I wrote. But that's one thing I learned from Johnny. He was like, you have to give the fans what they want. You can't go up on stage and ignore the stuff that the fans want to hear. And Johnny would always, he'd always give examples of bands that had, pretty long careers that refused to play the stuff from their early days because they wanted to, they wanted people to get past that and like their new stuff as much as their old stuff. But it doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? It's for the same reason. 80% of the songs that the Ramones played live came from the first four albums.
Yeah.
Literally 80% of the set came from the first four records. So we're talking 22-year career. We're in our 20th year of touring, and we're still living off of the first four records.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I learned from Johnny. You have to play what the fans want to hear. Put your ego away, put your ideals or whatever you think you're standing for away, and give the fans what they want. And that's why I did play a lot of Ramon stuff.
And
Thank you,
it's
CJ.
great because exactly. And it's great to always remind the fact that Johnny was really, for the fans, it's like a mentality of almost like a customer-oriented service, something like it's not my art anymore. I don't decide what people want. But, because many artists say something like, once the record is out, once, my art is out, it doesn't belong to me anymore. It's from the people.
That's right.
And we have a question about this from Martina. Is there a song you've been asked to play a lot that you don't want to and you won't play Ramones or your own?
The one song I had to like force myself to play in the set was "I Want to Be Sedated." I know it's a great song. I know everybody loves it. But that is the one song that I I just got tired of playing.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh God. But like I said, that's what people come to hear. People come to see CJ Ramone. Probably two songs I want to hear. I Want to Be Sedated and Blitzkrieg Bop.
Which is funny because wasn't that the song you brought to the out to your first rehearsal with the Ramones, right? I Want to
Yeah.
Be Sedated. Is that one? Yeah.
And also the first song that I ever played live with the Ramones on the Jerry Lewis Telethon.
Oh, incredible! Yeah.
So
So-
I and it's not that it isn't a great song, and it's not that I didn't love it, but even as a Ramones fan, I tended to like the oddball songs, right? Like I loved Warthog, right? I loved Outsider. I liked Eat That Rat. Like I liked a lot of the heavier stuff and the angrier stuff, but I also liked the songs that had like really good lyrics. Highest Trails Above. Like I just love all those oddball songs, and I Want to Be Sedated is the exact opposite of that. And I'm a huge fan of pop music, and that's what I Want to Be Sedated is a pop song. I love pop music, no doubt, but it's the song I probably played the most with the Ramones over the years, and the one song that I was like, I would even say the guy, Dan and Steve, who played with me for years from the Adolescents, I would turn to them and I would say, when that song came up in the set, do we really need to play this one tonight? And they'd be like, yes, we have to play it. We have to play it, because I was always like, we could skip over it. Let's do, Judy is a Punk or something, But it's of all the songs in the set, that song, that and Blitzkrieg Bop, those are the two songs that get the biggest responses. So you have to play it every night. And that's probably why I don't like playing it, is because I have to. And anything I have to do, I try to push back against. It's just part of my nature. You know what I mean? Anything that's expected of me or that I have to do, I want to push back against it. So that's probably got more to do with it than the actual song itself.
Yes.
I never thought of that before. That's fun.
That's interesting.
Martino, do you have a
Yeah.
question for CJ?
Yeah, I'm speechless. I'm totally focused.
Okay.
I'm a fan. CJ, I'm amazed to have you here, and I'm really speechless because I'm focused on what you are saying, and it's crazy for me to have you.
We have many questions because there is a lot of people.
Yeah, probably
sending
on the
questions
chat.
and following. Do you think you can play any Ramones with the Gimme Gimmes?
Well, they are a cover band. So I would love to suggest to the Gimmes to play Baby I Love You.
Wow.
I think Baby I Love You would fit really well with the Gimmes.
Yeah.
So I will try to talk them into doing a Ramon song at some point.
And let's see another question. Is there a band you'd really like to have open for you? You haven't played on the same bill with?
Open for me. Is there a band I'd like to have open for me? I mean, realistically, I don't want to sound like like, gee, CJ's such a nice guy, but open for me. Any of the bands that I know that I'm friends with, that I'm a fan of, could easily play on a shared bill as a split headliner bill or something. Any band I haven't played with that I would like to have.
Or maybe another side of this question could be, like when you played with the Ramones or your solo project, is there any band you wanted to share the stage with, or same bill, like any
Oh
band, like
yeah,
from
yeah,
Iron Maiden or Motorhead or
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, the list would be endless. Um, the the thing I could tell you though is that while I was in the Ramones, I mean, I got to play with so many bands that I really enjoyed playing with. There would, I mean, we really played with some very cool bands, and I'm not just talking about Iggy Pop and Motorhead and uh, Metallica and Soundgarden and Rancid. I mean, we played with a lot of great bands, but I got to say, one of my favorite bands that we ever played with, who I really liked, and they were just really good live, was Social Distortion.
Yep.
Uh, that that was like because I felt like you know, f Social Distortion was kind of like a band that I dug, and they weren't like super big rock star-ish kind of
Yeah.
band, they were like a very cool rock and roll band, and when we played with them, like I just felt like, damn, this is really this is really cool, I felt like we were touring with a band that I could really relate to. That you gotta remember, right? When I came into the Ramones, a lot of these, like we played with the Damned in Europe. You know what I mean? We played with Sisters of Mercy. We played with who else did we play with over in Europe? We played with the Pogues. We
Yep.
played with all of these bands that were, that were like, I didn't really look at them as peers. I looked up to them. There was a lot of bands we played with the Ramones that I looked up to them. But I think when we played with Social Distortion, it was the first band that I looked at, and I looked at the guys in the band, and I was like, yeah, like this is my group. I mean, this is my people right now.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, and it was a really really cool experience being on tour with those guys. I hung out with those guys. We got to be buddies. I still talk to Chris Reese, the drummer, on occasion.
And
Johnny Two
CJ,
Bags. Yep.
have such a distortion been an influence on your music? Because I believe there are some probably shared influence. It's not that
Right.
you took from Social Distortion, but you probably have the same background as them, so you end up.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it, Andrea. That's exactly what I mean. Like we shared so many influences, you know what I mean? Like I related to them musically so much that it was really a cool thing to be out on the road with them. If you just look at the bands that they list that were influences on them, from a lot of 50s rock and roll to a lot of blues players, like a lot of real roots type of stuff. I mean, that's all the stuff I grew up with, and that's why I had like that connection with them. Like, yeah, like that. I really enjoyed it. But I mean, there are artists along the way who I would love to, like. I would love to work with. I would love to do something with like Tom Waits. You know what I mean? Like, there's some people that are like outside my kind of my where I don't know, people that I look up to still. Like I would love to work with Tom Waits. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd like to work with Mike Ness. I'd love to do something with Mike Ness at some point. Glenn Danzig. I think Danzig is like one of the greatest singers. I think that guy has got such an incredible voice, and all the drama and all the all the stuff that kind of follows him around aside. The guy is such a great singer. For me, growing up, like he had the best voice. Like he really sang. Like he had range and power and presence. You know what I mean? I'd love to do something with Danzig. You know what I mean? But these are all things, that are, they're kind of like just, if it happens, that's great. It's not something I'm going to go out and try to chase down and make it happen. Because at this point, I'm very content with what I've done. Like if I died tomorrow, I would have no regrets for or things. I wouldn't lay down and go, man, I wish I would have done that, or I wish I would have done this. Like
Yeah.
I really have done musically for where I came from who I was, considering, being in the Marine Corps and then getting to the Ramones and, being offered to play bass for Metallica and then getting out on the road and doing my own thing and helping my friends to make a living doing music and playing with guys from other bands. I've done so much in my life musically that if I die tomorrow, I would have no regrets. I could lay down and be happy with what I've done, and that's, to me, that from when I was a kid, like I always had that in my mind. I don't want to die with regrets. I don't want to lay down and say, oh, I wish I would have done that, or I wish I would have traveled to that place, or I wish I would have had children, or I wish I would have, went to the moon or whatever. Like literally, I'm really happy with my accomplishments.
That's well, we still, but before that point, like we need at least 5 or 6 more solo records. Thank you. It's like we need them. I know you're
do my best.
already.
I'll do my best.
But
I promise.
You said something, and now I guess we have to introduce, what the crazy thing we are gonna introduce tonight, because you said like you wish you could go to the moon, and actually, a little bit of you, we are organizing ourselves to do something special with this Raduno, and maybe I should introduce it in this way.
Okay.
The before pandemic, we were organizing this edition of Raduno. Every year we have a topic, and that topic was Tomorrow the World, because we wanted to invite one band from each country. One punk rock band from China, one from Brazil, one from
Oh, that's very
because
cool.
that year was the year of Brexit. It was the year of a lot of isolationists or people that was really focused on borders and stuff. So we wanted to make a no borders edition, and we are still gonna do it next year. Okay,
nice.
So as soon as we can travel, so to prepare to next year, we were thinking about what can we do, to show the importance of our community and do it yourself and punk rock and what gave it to us, and to invite people. So we said like we are going into space, and the reason for that is that the guy there, like Martino, the guy that is speechless, he found a way to contact this company that is actually shipping like special. I call them rocket, but they are not rocket, and they are gonna be specific about it, to the space and sending stuff to the space. So we decided, and this is the announcement, that we wanted to do something really iconic, because let's start from this. To me, and as Henry Rollins said, like Ramones can save the world. I mean, the Ramones fan can always get along, and they feel like brothers and sisters. And so if more people knew the Ramones, and for the Ramones, I also mean like punk rock and do-it-yourself ethics and not giving up, that kind of idea of punk rock. If we can just have more people into that, I think we can save the world, because there is so much hate and there is so much not camaraderie nowadays, that we need more of that idea. So we must we must have the Ramones more, like we must send them to space, and that's actually what we are gonna do. So Andrea, you want to explain what we're gonna do?
Okay. What we're gonna do is pretty easy. Is the Punk Rock Raduno crew, together with this company called Involved Production, we are sending actually a balloon to space, which is going out of the atmosphere, and he's bringing the first Ramone record on vinyl on space, and this is gonna happen for real. Like we have a flight permit, this is gonna be the balloon, of course, is gonna come down, so we're not gonna leave any trash into space. So rubbish. It's gonna be like a proper space mission that's gonna start from Edone Bergamo in front of the stage, doing the festival, setting up Ramones record in space. We're gonna photograph it, so there's gonna be a picture of a Ramones record.
Yeah, also the video.
Floating into space, out of looking at the deep space and looking at the Earth from above, and then it's gonna come back down. This is the idea. It's of course it's a game for us, but it's also a way to send a message that our festival is alive, music is alive, and we still want our message of no racism, no sexism, no homophobia, no violence. We still want this message to go out, and this is probably getting a little bit of attention and a little bit of fun, so why not?
That's very cool, guys. That's a very good. That's a good message. Instead of rocket to Russia, rocket to infinity.
Yes,
good.
exactly.
I like it. That's
so
good stuff.
Every time we try to explain this, to the without spoiling it before this, like everyone watches us like, are you crazy? You're joking. But this company actually sent the first pizza, Napoleon pizza, to the space, and made a big. And you can actually go on YouTube. You can actually go on YouTube and follow and see the whole video of the pizza going into space and then going back. So we are gonna do the same. So there's gonna be like a live stream,
Right.
with a HD camera from the balloon filming
Right.
the first Ramones record, so you can see that going up and then going down, and it's pretty at the same time pretty fantastic and the craziest thing probably we will ever do in our lives. But I think
That is great. Yeah,
Crazy.
I love it. That's great.
And
really
this
good.
guy down here, his own copy of the first Ramones record is going into space, right?
we have it with us. Yes, here it is.
That's great. Love it. Love it.
Yes.
I believe this is not the first.
No, it's a repress. It's a repress from 2016.
Okay.
Because I can't space. I can't ship my
No.
first US copy
No,
in space.
no.
You can see why.
Yeah, the original pressings are.
Yeah, I have
Are-
two copy
are
of this,
limited.
so just in case.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that's great, guys. That's really good.
The other thing we should mention is that not only we're gonna send the first Ramones record to space, but also we are gonna the company will allow everyone to send a message to space, like either a photo that you're gonna take at the live at Punk Rock Raduno, or a postcard. So if anyone wants to send to ship a message to space, or a wish, or anything you want to ship, like you can do it. It's really cheap. It's like few bucks. You supported the mission and you send like a good message. So we are gonna also open the possibility to do it from outside of Italy, and from even if you don't come to Raduno, because of course we know that it's difficult to travel. Many people from UK, for example, now that booked their flights and stuff, now they are again in the condition of not being able to come to Raduno. So we are gonna make it possible for you to send your postcard and dedication or anything to the space. So we have to invite a band from space for the.
That's great.
So like
that's great. That's a great idea, guys. I really like that.
Let's see. We have many comments here.
We will let the people jump in this operation and be part of this this crazy thing. We love it.
So, but we have to thank you, CJ, for this, because we will not be here. Besides not being here without the Ramones, but also the fact that you come and supported the festival. That meant a lot to us. And every time, a lot of people don't know this, but do you remember that when you arrived, the guys at Edone, the kids that work at Edone, organized a barbecue party on the hills of Bergamo in this house, and you joined. And for them, every day they tell me, "Do you remember when CJ showed up in our barbecue party and stuff?"
Oh, that was great. Ah, good time. Good time. I just saw somebody put up a message underneath about, I think it was when we came in 1990
Oh, let me see.
that they put up. Somebody just put up something about one of the tours that we did there, and you know, they had a great memory from it.
Let's see.
Yeah,
Let's see.
that's the as important as it is for the fans. Like, oh, I remember when I met you in like Scaletta, you know what I mean? Or I remember when I met you in, you know, in Rio de Janeiro, blah blah. You know, everyone's got all these great memories of meeting the, you know, the Ramones, or going to a Ramones show, or I mean, for a lot more people have met me because when I was in the band, after we played, I would always try to meet local kids and go out. Like, so I've been to every little bar in every city that we've ever been to, you know? So a lot of times people contact me and they're like, oh, I remember when you came here and we did this and we went there, blah, blah. You know, the thing that I think a lot of people don't understand, as good a memory as it is for them, it's the same for me. Like, you know, for me to be, you know, in Rome and go out with a bunch of kids and go, you know, just go out and see some local stuff. Like, that was a big thing for me. That was, you know, it was as important for me as it was for them. For them, you know, it was like, oh, we're hanging out with CJ Ramone. But for me, I was like, I'm in Rome, hanging out with the locals, having a good time. I don't have to worry about going to do all the tourist stuff, or, you know, like, you know, stuffy hotel people and everything. Like, I would literally go out, and that, you know, that's why when I see people put up, I met you here and it was such a good memory, blah, blah, and I'm like, it's the same thing for me. You know,
Wow.
even though I'm on the other side of it, it literally is the same thing for me. You know, the enjoyment, one of the greatest things I enjoyed outside of, you know, the live shows, obviously, was the time I got to spend meeting the locals and really skipping over all of the, you know, the bullshit touristy stuff and all of that, you know, like just skipping over that and going out and hanging out in the places where the locals hang out. That to me was one of the best things. So when I see comments like that, it makes me feel good, because I'm like, yeah, I know what you're saying. I feel the same way.
Cool. That's fantastic. Thank you. And another question, is there, of course, you played thousands of shows. Is there a show in particular with the Ramones or with your other bands that you remember as your best show for some reason, or a show that stuck with your memory, that you think about that show a lot and say like, okay, that for a specific reason, not because it was the biggest or the best or the best played or something. Is there a show in particular that you remember?
So, I mean, there's the obvious ones, right? There's my first show is, you know, of course, very important. You know, there's shows where we had like special guests comes up, like Robbie Krieger jumped up and played with us in LA. There's the final show in Los Angeles where, you know, guys from Soundgarden and Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam and all these special guests came up and played on stage. I mean, those are like the obvious shows. But you know, there's some shows that were like, it wasn't necessarily like, just as a for instance, let me tell you this way. So we were playing in Spain. It was my first time in Spain. Okay. So every time we went into a new territory, I just got spit on, people giving me the finger, cursing at me all night, chanting, "We want Didi," you know, like, so we were in Spain. It was for the first time, and we were playing in the Basque, you know, in the Basque region somewhere. And it was a very, very, like the pit was real intense. Like people, it was very intense. and there was one guy in the front who just kept coming up to the front and give me the finger and taking swings at me in between songs and stuff, you know? So, I think it was in between, it was in between the encore and, it was in between the set and the first encore, and the security guys had pulled him out and had him on the side of the stage.
Okay.
And they were like talking to him, like they were telling him like, you better calm down or whatever. So I walked over to the guy and I walked up to him and I was like, what's your fucking problem?
Yeah.
And he was like for a second, he was like, you know, blah, blah. And then he was like, where's Didi? Where is Didi? Where's Didi? I was like, Didi quit. He's gone. It's me. I'm the bass player now.
Yes.
Blah, blah. And well, we had a very short conversation, but I told him, I said, hey, don't be swinging at me anymore, you know? And he was like, okay. So when we went back up on stage and started the first encore, he was right in the front again, but he was like, yeah, you know, like he was like, yeah. And it was a really, like, just for those couple of seconds that I talked to him was like, what's your fucking problem? You know, what's your problem? Like it just in that little bit, like he understood, like he got it. Like I was like, I'm a fan too. I'm a Didi fan too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Didi fucking quit. What do you want? It ain't my fault he quit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was really like, it really made me understand, like, these people all felt exactly like I did. When I first heard Didi left the band, I turned to my buddy. I was riding in a car. I was riding in my friend's pickup truck, and it came over the radio. Didi Ramone announced today that he's leaving the Ramones. And I turned to my buddy and I said, I'll never go to another Ramone show. Huh. Literally. No joke, no exaggeration. The first words out of my mouth, I'll never go to another Ramone show. So I could relate to how this guy felt. Like, to me, it's not the Ramones without Didi. Didi was my guy in the band. You know what I mean? To me, Didi invented all of it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Didi is the epicenter of the entire punk rock movement, in my opinion. So I got it, but it was the first time like I ever realized, like, yeah, I understand everyone spitting on me and everything else. Like, yeah, that's because they feel exactly like I did the first time I heard Didi left. They're like, I don't care who it is. It's not Didi. I don't want to know him, you know? Yeah. So and I mean, I could tell you, like, I got invited up on stage and played a song with Soundgarden. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that's the type of stuff. It's like, it's not easy to dismiss and go, oh, well, it's because of this, or well, it's because of that. That was them guys being like, respect, come up and play a song with us, you know? That's so beautiful. I mean, those moments are so important. And, you know, the fact that I'm friends with those guys and everything else, but like those moments like that, where it was like reality, like all that frivolous rock star stuff gets pushed aside, and it's down to me and another fan. Like, yeah, what? You know what I mean? That's the type of stuff I really enjoyed. I have to say, those are my best memories, come from stuff like that, you know, as far as the live shows go.
It's very funny that you basically said, I will never go to another Ramon show. You actually went to every Ramon show from that moment on.
Every single one.
And CJ, during that time, did you ever talk about this feeling with Johnny or Joy? I mean,
you know, so you have to, like, my state of mind when I got into the band was, I couldn't think of it as replacing Didi. So I just treated it as, I got hired to do a job and I have to be really good at it. I have to be the best I can at it. So, you know, I didn't want to complain. Like, I didn't want to say to Johnny, hey, you know, tell the security guards when there's somebody in front of me spitting at me and hurling insults and stuff, tell the security guards to get him out of there. Because to me, I was earning my place in the band. Yeah. You know what I mean? I was earning my place in the band. I didn't want to go up there and have everybody love me and it'd be all nice and easy. I didn't want that. You know, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to earn my place in the Ramones. They were a legendary band. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily just think I deserved to be there. I was there to earn my place. And so I never complained about stuff like that. You know, I never said anything. The only time there was ever an issue was at my very first show. I had been spit on so much. I was so covered in spit that my shirt smelled like mucus. So when we stepped off stage before the first encore, I pulled my shirt off only because it smelled so bad. And then Johnny, started yelling at me, and I was like, John, I stunk. It smelled so bad. You know what I mean? I wasn't trying to be like a rock star or pull a Sid Vicious or something and go out with no shirt on. I stunk so bad that I just ripped my shirt off,
Yeah.
But I took it on the chin, you know what I mean? Because that's, any place I've ever been, if you want to earn acceptance or earn a place somewhere, you have to be able to take the bad stuff with the good stuff. So I didn't complain about it. I just got up there and took it on the chin and did my job and tried to, make the band exciting.
You are the man.
Yeah, no, it's
grande.
very
Sei un
fascinating
grande.
how strong you must be. Because I mean, it's easy to say it now because you remember. It's funny to hear, even now. But emotionally and also physically and mentally must been very, very, very difficult. And not only you have been strong, but I think many times I think about this. You have every one of us has his favorite Ramones. Like, my favorite is Joey for many reasons, like musically, for his, idea and stuff.
Yeah.
Because he represents the positive, always in love, 50s and 60s pop, and then a lot of people have Didi and a lot of people have Johnny for the way, he managed like things and never giving up and stuff. And of course, you also have some Ramones that maybe, you're not so, you don't think they are the best Ramones, or you don't have like much respect, not respect, but you know what I mean. But one thing I notice of the every Ramones fan always, you are loved by every Ramones fan. I think in particular because you're basically our dream coming true. Like, you are one of us becoming one of the Ramones. You are I don't want to say like the normal guy becoming a superhero, making it to the next level, and you earn it in that way, So you felt that people really, felt like, you're one of us, like becoming like, our favorite band and stuff like that.
Yeah, like now, looking back with a lot of years to be able to process everything that happened and understand it with a more mature attitude and outlook, and knowing a lot of things that I didn't know even while the band was together. I realized that the Ramones represent all the different things that it takes to make a human being, right?
Yeah.
Joey was absolutely all heart. Joey was the heart. Joey was the heart of the band. Joey represented all the aspirations that we have for love, for acceptance, for positivity, just the real human heart aspect of what makes a whole person. Johnny was, even though he's the opposite of Joey, Johnny doesn't necessarily represent all the dark aspects, but Johnny represents the reality of the world. Johnny represents the getting the work done, not thinking that you're special, and not thinking that you deserve extra attention or that the world should stop for you. Johnny represents progress, move forward, keep going, don't stop. That Johnny is like the driving force, the more masculine part of being a human.
Yeah.
And any of the drummers, whether it's Richie, Marky or Tommy. I mean, Tommy, while he is the mastermind, obviously, in the band, Tommy is like and Mark and Richie all represent that undiminished energy that just, it's like the if the heart represents emotion, right? The electrical they're like the electrical impulse of the heart. Go, 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 go. That's really what to me, what they all represented. But I mean, individually, they were all important for different reasons. Mark was the guy that constantly kept things humorous. Mark was the guy that kind of kept things from getting too serious. He always, he's the kind of guy that in a bad situation could say something and make everybody just relax. You know what I mean? Make everybody laugh at it. You know what I mean? He was that kind of guy. Tommy, of course, was the creative genius of the band. Tommy was the guy with the vision, right?
Yes.
Richie, to me, Richie is the guy who came in and was just like, let's make the Ramones great again. You know what I mean? Richie's first album with the band, to me, is a comeback album. You know what I mean? So even though, in the overall picture of the band, they are, their role is kind of relegated to just be driving, to be moving everybody together. You know what I mean? To keeping it tight and moving everybody together. Individually, they all had very important roles within the interaction in the band. And for me, I always say, like, I just, when I came into the band, I just went at it like I wanted the band to be like they were when I first saw them. I wanted them to be, that's a band I wanted to try to make them again. You know what I mean? I really just wanted them to kind of shake off the years of, where they really struggled and weren't playing a lot of shows and the infighting in the band and kind of mediocre records. And I just wanted them to shake that off. Like, let's start new. Let's just start all over again. You know what I mean? And I couldn't affect that in the beginning by writing songs or any of that, but I could affect it when we were on stage by just totally cutting loose. And because, in any given situation, right, there's the guy who's in control and the important players, and there's always one person in there who's not necessarily the person who's leading the charge or who's really important in the hierarchy, but the person that kind of like is like the one who's like, hey, let's get out there and fucking have fun. And not just saying it, by leading by example, right? And that's really what I just tried to do. I tried to just get out there and just totally cut loose. And of course, Johnny and Joey said it, and even Danny Fields and Arturo Vega, and their comment like that I brought new life to the band. At first, I was like, anybody would have done it, blah, blah, blah. But, now being able to look back and understanding everything that went on, like now I really do understand what my role was in the band. Now I really see what my contribution was. And not just because of what other people told me, but thinking back, like the last time I saw the band, L'Amour's in Brooklyn, they were terrible. Like literally, like Johnny and Joey were just walking. Well, Johnny was just walking back and forth. Dee Dee was standing in one place, just strumming the strings open. They shut him off at the soundboard. You know what I mean? The band just was a shadow of what they were from the first time I saw them, which was, in the probably 1980, So now I'm seeing them 5 or 6 years later, and I was like, oh my God, there's a shadow of what they were. And I remembered that when I got into the band, I was like, I know what I got to do. I know what I have to do. I know what my mission is, and I'm going to just get out there and go for it. And that's why, I'm sure you've heard the story, like Johnny bawled, really like just totally bawled me out after the first show. Like, you made so many mistakes and blah, 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 and this and that. And it's because I wasn't even worried about making mistakes. I wasn't even worried about, whether or not I was singing in key or anything like that.
Yeah.
All I cared about was just being exciting. Like I just went out and just totally out of my head, just went for it. You know what I mean? And that was the best thing. It would have been nice if I could play everything perfectly and done that. But at that point, I just realized like that's really what my mission is. My mission is just to make the band really good, make them be visually, bring energy, you know what I mean? Make the people lose their minds again, And that's what I long term, that's what I did.
That's beautiful, and thank you for doing that. We lost a little bit Andrea, now he's back.
Hello, Andrea.
Are you with
ciao.
us, Andrea? Yes. Here.
Yeah, sorry,
Welcome
technical
back.
problem, issues. No problem.
You went to take a bath?
Listening to a bit of an interview so far. So.
You-
Just enjoying our guest and his tales,
Listen, before I go, because we have so many questions for CJ, but I want to give you the first shot. Like, do you have a question, Andrea, for him?
No, not at the moment.
There was a question about the high energy that I want to bring back.
Question in about 30 seconds.
No,
I could stay here.
Too late. We have a new question. Reverend IP.
I have a question also.
No, too late again.
No, too late.
Your music is high energy. The speed that the Ramones live sets was very high energy speed. I'm sorry, guys. It's just because it's connected to what CJ was saying, like just shortly before. How did you keep the energy up, and how did you do that today? Is being a touring musician draining or energizing today?
So keeping the energy up and all that, it's for me, because I was a fan before I was in the band. I did on stage what I did in the crowd. How you saw me on stage was how I was in the pit. You really have to practice enough so that you can get on stage and not think about what you're playing. And that's really what I did. And so I didn't have to worry about whether or not I was playing wrong notes. I just, I think what you see on stage is the physical expression of how the music makes me feel.
Yes.
And that's the great thing about punk rock, right? You go to a metal show, like everyone's headbanging and you know what I mean? You go to a dance music show and everyone's dancing, right? You go to a punk rock show and everyone's just cutting loose. All of that. But to me, punk rock really, and I understand, it had a lot to do with the art community and it had a lot to do with avant-garde stuff and everything. But to me, punk rock was always blue collar music, right? You come from a blue collar background.
Yeah.
You're used to, everything that we do, in a blue collar life is suppressing our emotions, right? You can't get upset at work. You can't get upset with your kids. You can't get upset with your spouse. You're constantly like pushing all this stuff down. Just get through the day, do the work, get your paycheck, pay your bills, send your kids to good schools, buy a reliable car. So in the blue collar community, we really spend a lot of time pushing down our individuality and what we really feel it. You know what I mean? And that's a beautiful thing about punk rock and hardcore is it was a place you could go and just let all of that out and just let it out and just cut loose. So, when I'm on stage, and you have to remember, I just came out of the Marine Corps. When I'm on stage, like that's exactly what you were seeing. Everything that I pushed down, through my life, in my youth, when I was a kid, all the things that I didn't talk about or didn't express or had to push down to get through the day and do whatever was expected of me, that's what you see comes out on stage.
Yep.
And realistically in life, that never goes away. If you're living your life not constantly for yourself, right? So if you have family members, if you're taking care of your mom and dad because they're elderly, if you have children, if you have a spouse, that demands a lot of your attention, if you have a job that demands a lot of your attention, and then a family that demands a lot of your attention, so that anything that you want to do, or anything that you feel you constantly push aside or push down, for the sake of doing what's expected of you, or for the sake of somebody else, all of that stuff, that never goes away. If you're living your life in the right way, that none of that ever goes away. None of that goes away. And I think that's why people love punk rock and love music so much, because it's the one place where there is no excuse for keeping all of that down. There's no reason to keep that down. You can let go and smile, or be mad and throw elbows, or lift people up and stage dive. That it's all acceptable. There's no reason to hold it in anymore. And I really think that is, that is what has made punk rock and rock and roll and hardcore and, our music in general have such longevity, is that those things never go away. They never go away. That will always be. If you're living as a decent human being, and doing all the things that you should and the way that you should, you will have a lot of stuff that you're pushing down. It's just part of life. It's part of living. And that's why there'll always be punk rock. That's why there'll always be a place for it.
Another reason to send that rocket to the space with the first Ramones album,
Yes.
that's yet another one.
Yes.
a chance at immortality, right? For the average working class guy, right? Our only shot at any type of leaving any lasting thing when we're gone is our children, right?
Yes.
Unless you're a writer, or you're a painter, or you're a musician, or and you're part of something that lives on culturally. For the average working person, your only shot at leaving anything beyond, when you die, is your children, right? So with that in mind, you're going to have to do a lot to make sure that what you leave behind is good. But everyone needs a place to let everything go. Everyone needs a place. And going on vacation and sitting on a beach, or going on a cruise or something like that, it'll help you relax, but you're still not getting that energy out, all that energy that you have to keep suppressed on a daily basis. And that's where punk rock and rock and roll come in.
Yes, I agree. That's beautiful words.
But
beautiful
CJ,
words.
I wanted to ask you something. What do you think about the punk scene getting different with time? Now that the average age of the punk rock fan is higher, and now that we're bringing kids to the shows, what do you think? How do you think the energy of the first rebellion that we felt when we were kids can still go on now that the world is totally different?
It's an interesting time period right now. I mean, I think when I was younger anyway, punk rock kind of was the place where everyone would fit in. And that meant, without exception, everyone could find a place in punk rock. But there is a really big movement right now for people to conform. Conformity is, it has become popular. If you don't believe what I believe, then you're my enemy, or you're wrong. It's a kind of a dangerous time period right now. That to see people lining up to demand conformity from everybody else is very dangerous. The last time there was a big movement for conformity, we spent a lot of years fighting fascism. And I think that's a problem right now. I think it's a problem, and even in the punk rock community, I mean, there is a social demand for conformity right now that is very troubling. That's very, very troubling. But the good thing about it is our scene started out very small. Punk rock started out as a very small scene. Record companies refused to back it. The press refused to cover it, and it took a long time for it to achieve what it should have achieved. I mean, to me, the Ramones' first record and the Sex Pistols' first record, even the Clash's first record, the Damned's first record, those should have been top 40. You know what I mean? New Rose or Holiday in the Sun or Blitzkrieg Bop should have easily have been in the top 10 songs of that time period. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
The fact that our scene is being kind of compressed and not kind of stadium music anymore is a good sign, right? The demand for conformity, while it is scary at the momentum that is picked up, means that there's a revolution coming.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's one thing that we've learned from the past, is that these movements, while initially are violent and scary, are ultimately crushed out by the truth. Ultimately, they are defeated. And there's probably a lot of pain and suffering that will go on in between now and then. But I always take heart in the if you're a student of history at all, in the fact that people like Napoleon and Hitler and Stalin are responsible for a lot of pain and misery, but eventually are defeated. Mm-hmm. Eventually the truth wins out. People understand the mistakes. It'd be nice if we could learn from history, collectively as a whole, but we don't, and it just seems to be part of the human condition. So I have faith that punk rock will always be the voice of the dissenters, and I think that's I take a lot of comfort in that.
Yeah. And do you think musically there is a lot of conformity as well? Because we always discuss about this, for example, the Ramones is my favorite band and probably the best band on the planet because he represents, he incorporates a lot more than what a lot of people, simplify a lot of things, which is the good, But at the same time, a lot of people think, oh, Ramones is distorted guitars and fast songs, but it's not only that. You get like rock and roll and 60s music all compressed, in a formula that is simple. But at the same time, it seems like sometimes punk rock should be, and I mean about the same for the Fat sound, the Fat Wreck sound, or the Ramon sound, or it seems like it has to be a stream of the conformity of the sound, and it seems like sometimes if you go out of that, it's not punk rock anymore, it's not punk anymore, it's not rock and roll anymore, it's not garage anymore,
Yeah.
Do you think there is a lot of conformity? Was it the same, in the 70s or 80s, like there was the same feeling about things? Or do you think it's normal, or is a thing of now, of nostalgia?
It's each generation has to kind of step on what came before it in order to legitimize its own scene.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of the thing that I always look for is dismissiveness, right? When when somebody dismisses something out of hand, right?
Mhm.
Oh, that's just blah, 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 right? When somebody dismisses something, it's because they don't fully understand it, or they don't have the same experiences as the people who created it have had, right?
Yep.
So they
Yep.
dismiss it out of hand. Oh, that's just the way they used to do it. Oh, in the 70s when the Ramones came out, it was they were dismissed, right? And they were dismissed because they were not obviously intense trained musicians with,
Yeah.
3-octave voices, and he doesn't even play leads on his guitar. And they dismissed an art form based on the current way, or actually the way that people thought of it in the generation before.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I'm a fan. I'm a huge fan of a lot of progressive music. I was since I was a child. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But I have a unique perspective because I was always a fan of all art, of all writing, of everything from poetry to painters. Like I understood each generation, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you think about it, most painters in the day they were painting were dismissed as heretics because it went against the church, or as, like when Hitler took over in Germany, any paintings created by Jews was called a lower art form, right?
Yeah.
There's always a reason why the people who dismiss an art form or a new art form do it. And it's to try to maintain their position of superiority.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's all
Yes.
it is. That's literally all it is. So the people today that are going, oh, the Ramones, come on. They played 3 chords, blah, 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 are the same people that was saying, well, they're not the same people, but it's the same mindset of the people who said it when the Ramones came out, because it was the people from the generation before them. So the generation before them and the generations after them, very dismissive. The people who grew up listening to it understand the genius of the Ramones.
Yes.
Understand the fusion of all the different aspects that made the Ramones great. You know what I mean? So that's that all art and all of it, it doesn't matter what medium we're talking about, will always be looked down upon, frowned upon, criticized based on the beliefs of the generation before it and the ones after it. So, the old saying, what's new is old again, right? So you'll have, the generations that get it, the ones that miss it, and then the ones that get it again, because it takes time to understand the perspective of the art being made. Wow, I'm really getting out there right now. But
it's great. It's your answers are always very deep, incredibly deep. I'm really fascinated by that. It's like you go really into deep things. Connected to this, we have a question. Like, what do you think about the word Ramones core? Have you ever heard about it?
Of course. And it is. I mean, I loved the Ramones core movement. I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. And, whether you're talking about Screeching Weasel or the Mangers, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like understanding what that movement was about, understanding the things that made it great and that made it important, and the culture behind the movement. And that's, whether it's because to some extent the Ramones are they are a nostalgia band. Any interview you hear with Johnny, he said, he loved what made rock and roll great in the 50s, rebelliousness and shucking off the whole, we don't have to be crazy great musicians, you know what I mean? We don't have to be able to, play jazz to make great music, or, you know what I mean? It was So in some respects, the Ramones are a nostalgia band, but that's the beauty of the movement. Is it takes the basic ingredients of what made exciting music, and then adds the current culture to it. So the Ramones took the fast, aggressive rock and roll sound of the 50s and added horror movies and pop, pop sensibility from the 60s, and the hardcore that started in the 80s, and they mixed all of this stuff together and created something that had never been heard before.
Yeah.
So later on, the Ramones core bands, they get all of this. They have the historical perspective. They have the 50s and 60s influences. They understand the cultural influences with movies and even the wars that we fought, and all of the other stuff from those time periods. The culmination of all of that. And to be able to boil it down to its basics and then put it into a song, that's high-end stuff.
Yeah, no,
I
agree.
That's high-end stuff. And we may be, in punk rock and rock and roll, we may be considered lowbrow culture, but our approach to it and how we get to that is all highbrow. It's all highbrow. It's very much a study in culture and people and events and everything else. So let them all laugh and let them all, look down at us and everything else. What we do is as legitimate as any other art form, since drawing on fucking rocks. From drawing on rocks to Michelangelo, it all was done in the same way that we've done it. And that's the common thread in all forms of art. It's a study in human culture. And punk rock is no lower than anything that came before it, regardless of how the highbrow artists look at us, or how people from other mediums or other parts of the culture look at us. We are on the same level as them. They just don't want to admit it.
No, I totally agree with you. Actually, there is one thing I always think about is I study also philosophy and martial arts, and there is this way of thinking that the best art forms is simplifying. Okay,
That's
so
right.
if you study Wing Chun or martial arts, or even like the words of Bruce Lee, is like you have to get to a form that is really the simplest one. So the highest level, is the simplest one. So you go back to the beginning. And this reminds me a lot of the Ramones, like how they took some art that was going to be way too constructed and way too full of things that were totally useless sometimes, like some solos were useless, some parts were useless. Like, go back to the form. So this always brings me back. There is one thing though that I would like to, because there is one part of this that is a little bit, and we discuss it a lot, and Athena was mentioning it. It's like about the Ramones core word. It's like, thank you, CJ, for still can keep it going. No, so people say it's a bad word, Ramones core, and this remind me it's me that people, because, and I explain you why. First of all, I don't think a word is bad or good in general, but it's the use of the people doing this.
Yeah.
And some time ago, I was complaining about the Ramones core word, not because of the Ramones. Of course, Ramones is my favorite band. And, I'm speaking with you for a reason, and we do punk rock Raduno, so you can imagine, But the thing that people use that word to say, like, this is Ramones core, this is not, because maybe one guy used the downstrokes and not using the downstrokes, or, wear the leather jacket, not wear the leather jacket. That to me is against the idea of, punk rock in general, or the same Ramones, which is having complexity and simplifying. But to be, aligned, and say like, okay, we have to copy the Ramones in the same way they did everything. That to me is not Ramones by the philosophy of it,
Yeah.
So that's why I love the Ramones core word, of course, because, that's where I feel belong. And that's our festival, because I think we are a Ramones core festival in some way. But at the same time, I hate the fact of applying yourself with a narrowed mind of, it's like, this is the only way for me, and this is what I'm gonna do, and this is the exact thing. So the two ways of this thing are sometimes dangerous. So
If I can just say one word, just a couple words. I think the good way of doing Ramon score is taking your inspiration, and you're conscious of the fact that the thing you're doing is derivative, but you're conscious of that because you studied what happened before, and you wanna make it fresh and new. And this is a way of doing it. The worst way of doing it is basically thinking that you should become a Ramones cover band. That's what,
I agree.
That's how I see it.
Yeah.
So this is the difference. I think this is what you guys are talking about. So the difference is there are bands that just sound like the Ramones, right? There are bands that just get the 3 chords down, get the 3-chord thing down, all the down strumming and the nice melodies, right? There's that aspect of the Ramones core thing, right? But realistically, the Ramones message or the Ramones ideal is do it your way.
Yeah.
Do it your way. There are no rules. There is no formula. Do it your way. The Ramones message was not do it like us. It was do it your way. Do it your way. That's the real message to the Ramones, right? They came out. The Ramones, if you think about it, the Ramones came out when like Yes was big, the Allman Brothers, like all this progressive music was really big at the time, right? Very intricate, 10-minute songs, like all this very intense, just like crazy musicianship. Like that's when the Ramones came out, and they were just like boom, like where they don't play everyone else's game. Don't get involved in trying to play their game. Don't get involved in trying to play like Jimmy Page. Playing like Jimmy Page is the reason why it's hard is because it takes crazy amounts of practice. You know what I mean? It takes crazy amounts of practice. But the Ramones message always to me was do it your way. Do it your way. And that's what I loved about the Ramones. It wasn't, you didn't have to be a certain type to fit in at a Ramones show. Well, you go to a Ramones show, there'd be metal guys there, there'd be hardcore guys there, there'd be punk rock guys there, there'd be pop fans, there'd be like, very like, kind of well-dressed people there. It was everybody. It was everybody, right? The Ramones had something that everybody liked.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, realistically, it was just when you went to a Ramones show, that was a great thing. You were standing next to people you would not stand next to in any other situation, people that would never pay attention to you. You would have nothing in common with outside of a Ramones show. Literally. I mean, I ran into so many people that way. At a Ramones show, there'd be cops in the audience. There'd be street absolute scum punks in the audience. There'd be the hardcore kids. It was everybody. And that's because that's what the Ramones, kind of like the subconscious message was. Everyone's invited. Everyone can be part of it.
It's true.
There's no separation. It's music. It's good music. Everybody is invited.
Yeah.
And that is such a not common in any other musical genre.
Yeah.
Heavy metal, my favorite music growing up, was most conservative, crazy scene. Like literally, like if there was a dude with short hair at a heavy metal show, everybody'd be like, "You ain't a fucking heavy metal fan." You know what I mean? Like literally, it'd be. It was so conservative, you know. Um, but like anything, if you had long hair and you walked into a disco or a dance club, you would instantly have people all over you. Every guy mad dogging you when you walked in the door. You know what I mean? Punk rock was the only place all of that stuff got completely pushed aside.
Yeah.
Totally pushed aside. It didn't matter. There was no judgment going on. If you were in the pit banging shoulders or throwing elbows with somebody, it didn't matter what they look like. You know, usually the pit would be the two biggest guys banging off of each other and everybody running around them.
No,
You know
no,
what I mean?
it's true. It's true. I think. Well, thank you so much for speaking. What is that? What I wanted to say before, about the Ramones cover, but this is the part that I think is very, very, very
Yep.
interesting and cool about punk rock, because again, it doesn't matter if if it's a guy from Italy or he's a guy from New York, or you're poor, you're rich.
From
If
space.
we are all freaks basically, and we all feel connected and accepted in few
Yep.
places, and one of these places was the Ramones and punk rock. There
Yep.
there are a few other ones in some, like, I feel the same, like when I never liked football or soccer. When the first time I went to the hooligans, ultras part of my city and stuff, that was the second time, because I was like, oh my god, here, like, there's
Yep.
all these different people, but they all
The
get
passion.
together. Yeah,
The passion
Yes,
unifies everybody. It's the passion that unifies
yeah.
everybody.
And it's great. You get like the old guy that is rich and the young kid and stuff like that, and they feel the same about punk rock. And the
Yeah.
power of the message of this is like accepting, not ignoring, not dismissing. That's
Yep.
that's what I wanted to mean before, with the thing, and which is, another reason why we are sending that balloon to the space. And let's see if we have Andrea back here.
Yes,
But
and
I got to tell
Yeah.
you, the important thing about Ramones Core,
Yep.
the important thing about Ramones Core is it preserves the sound of the
Yeah.
Ramones, and the sound of the Ramones is as important as any other aspect, right? The
Yep.
the the global message of the Ramones, that everyone's welcome, everyone's welcome. My buddy Lenny Lashley from the Street Dogs, who plays guitar with me on tour, he put out a record making that same statement. All are welcome. You know what I mean? And that's such a law. That message is so lost. Right now in the world, like, there's this whole movement of we have to be all inclusive and blah 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 blah. But that message is so twisted, because we have to be inclusive of the people that think like us. Like, that's the message right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's a dangerous one. But getting back to my original point, the important thing for Ramones Core is it preserves the sound of the Ramones. Because to me, all the messaging aside and all the great things about the scene and blah blah, the thing I think that everybody loves the best about the Ramones is the sound, is the combination of the distorted guitars and the nice melody lines, and the lyrics that are have humor to them and wit, but are still relatable. It's not so out there. We're writing about very big topics, but in a common way that everybody can understand. That's as important to the Ramones Core movement as anything else is. The sound and the lyrics. Anybody that listens to the Ramones will tell you the lyrics are always so good. The stuff that they write about, the humor that they write with, and even when it's a serious subject, right? Like I said before, one of my favorite songs, "Highest Trails Above." That song, the concepts in that song are so universal. I mean, those lyrics, Didi writes those lyrics, right? That's the stuff he's writing about is the same thing that philosophers have been writing about since everything that we have in written record, from the ancient Greeks all the way up to Macbeth, right? Didi is writing about those same concepts in that song, but he uses Disneyland. It's like it makes all those big universal concepts, it boils them down to simplified language that we can all relate to.
Yes.
That is genius.
Yes, I
That to
agree.
me, that is true genius.
I agree.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree.
No, and as
I'm sorry, guys. I know.
No,
I
it's
get
No, it's
No,
good.
That's
It's
the
because-
good.
same innovation.
that is great. And you know what? What drive us? Quoting a really popular documentary right now. What drive us to do what we do is this. We try to preserve in some way the sound, the spirit, the philosophy, the ideals, the values, of what filled our hearts, and what
Yep.
what made us, basically, with the festival, with the record label, with the band, we in every art form. So I think that's what we are trying to do. That stuff was so important to us that we feel like we have to, try to preserve it. I get, and I agree with you. The sound is as much as important as the philosophy, and is as much as important as the values, and is as much as important as the style. We didn't touch it on the style and the stuff because, and yeah. So no, I think it's incredible also how we are all in the same page on this. We could
Yep.
chat with the other punk rockers around the world, and we all know these things by instinct in some way.
Universal. They're
Yeah.
universal truths. There's no other way to say it. There are universal truths. And even though, the messaging today is, what is truth and what's reality and, what's moral and blah, blah, blah. There are universal truths. There really are. There are universal truths. And that's why when we hear them, we identify with them because it
Yeah.
speaks to something. It's not something that we learn. It's not something that we're taught. It's not something that is part of our culture. They are universal truths, things that we know. We're born with them. We're born with them. And that's why I tell everybody, like what you guys are doing with, with Punk Rock Raduno. And even, I just recently I played a benefit show with a younger band who is just coming up, and like I can tell they really love what they're doing. And I tell them, I said, I'm telling you guys, what you're doing is important. This isn't just something that, that like, oh, there's a good way to make money, or hey, there's a great way to promote our band, right? What we're doing is really important. What we're involved in, this art, this whole community is important because it gives people an opportunity to feel connected, to come together, right? It puts something really it puts something real, I mean tangibly real, into the world, as far as bringing people together, right? To identify with each other, to see some of these universal truths. And we don't have to sit here and have like high-end conversations about it. Like we got into some high-end stuff here. But we don't even have to go that far. Like I said, something as simple as a song like Highest Trails Above, it says it all for us. If we're at that show together and we're pumping our fists and singing those lyrics together, we're acknowledging those truths. We're acknowledging that connection that we all have together. We are all connected. There's no way around it. That's why that stuff appeals to not just our hearts, but our intellectual brains too, because they are undeniable truths.
I agree.
Yeah, in the
Oh my
end,
God.
we carry on. We carry on those ideas by having fun together and also, making our friends happy, our friends in bands, our friends in record labels, our friends that are music collectors. When we're all together and we have fun together, we just carry this on by just sharing the passion and being together. So it's always a good thing, I believe.
Yeah. Listen, if you're doing something and it feels good and it's bringing other people to you, and there's just something about that, you know what I mean? It's like, it's like gravity. It's it's as undeniable as gravity. You know what I mean? Gravity is a fact of the universe, right? When we all do something together and we feel connected to each other, it's as real and as scientific as gravity. You know what I mean? Literally, it's a law of the universe, and they're all universal truths, and stuff like and things like punk rock, or any kind of art form that you want to discuss on any level. That's as much a law of the universe as gravity is. That feeling of connectedness, and with festivals like this, or bands putting on shows, or record labels putting out records, giving people the opportunity to do that, we're all just acknowledging those universal truths. Like, yep, we're all connected. This is just another way to prove it.
Fantastic.
Beautiful.
CJ, these are, beautiful words that will keep us going, and thank you so much. Thank you so much. There is some people asking if there is a new record coming out. Yes, you missed the beginning because he said so.
I'm always working.
I just have one last question, which I think is in common for us. Do you think you will, you're not gonna tour anymore, but if we one day will you be back in our festival maybe? Because
I won't. I said I'm not going to tour, but I will always go out and do any show that I get invited to do. I absolutely, I would love to come out and do any show, any big punk rock Raduno. Anytime you guys want me to come, hit me up. I would. I love it. I love the spirit of punk rock Raduno. I had such a great time last time we were there. Tattooing and everything else. I mean, I really, anytime you guys want me, I'll make myself available.
Here is another thing, like because I work with a lot of people, and all my friends are tattooed, and I don't have any tattoo. As you can see, I'm the I'm the most
good for you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the only one not being tattooed, and I always say this: like, the only time I was really close enough to being tattooed, it was asking CJ to tattoo just like a little, Ramones on me.
Ramones.
Because that,
Okay.
So if you come back, I want to ask
problem.
you. Okay, perfect. My first tattoo
right.
and my only tattoo will be yours.
Okay. All right.
Cool. CJ, again, thank you so much. You've been so gracious and beautiful as always, and people really appreciate it. And what can I say, Andrea? You want to wrap it up?
Yeah, we just thank you for being part of this streaming, and we thank you for being part of our family, the Punk Rock Raduno family, as Uncle CJ. But yeah, of course, we're gonna be in touch. I didn't ask you about some project that I heard, but I think it's a bit of gossip that that I didn't ask you about, but I will as soon as possible. But anyway, guys, for the Punk Rock Raduno people listening, we thank you for being there, and we're gonna see you in a few weeks. And CJ, again, you have a great day, and we're gonna be in touch, of course. And we want you back at the festival. So
yes.
Okay. Anytime.
It's gonna happen.
More
Anytime,
barbecues
guys.
in the hills of Bergamo.
Yeah, come on. All right.
Yeah, take care.
Thank you so
everyone.
much. Guys, I love
Thank you so
all.
much, CJ.
This has been
I love
one
you.
of the best nights in the last, few weeks. So thank you so
All
much
right.
for doing this.
Keep the faith.
Thank you,
Okay.
guys.
Thank you.